So David, let's talk about biases and investing. Like, what do we need to know and how to mitigate them, whether it's DIY or with an advisor?
So behavioral economics offers some great insights into financial decision making. We're humans. We try to be rational, calculating, analytical, goal-oriented, consistent, and predictable, but we're humans. We're not computers. So for example, telling everyone that they should eat healthy and exercise doesn't really work. We already know that. The problem is that ice cream is delicious and we work out and we get tired and sweaty. And so the future benefit of being healthier and having a longer life is sort of offset by the present pain of giving up ice cream or exercising. And so, that's called a bias, and it's non-conscious. We're not even aware of the fact that we're making that decision. When we're choosing between being healthy and being unhealthy, there's a non-conscious bias where we automatically choose present pleasure over future benefits. And so that's called a bias. But there's also heuristics, where there's many shortcuts we make for decision making. And we kind of have to, because we make hundreds, if not thousands, of decisions every day. And if we had to spend time on every single decision, we'd never be able to make a decision. We'd still be stuck looking at our sock drawer or stuck in the coffee shop trying to decide what coffee we're going to drink. So we take shortcuts, right? And that's adaptive. It's useful for us to do that. The problem is we do that for inconsequential decisions, like what coffee to drink, but we also do it for consequential decisions, risky, complex, consequential decisions that affect our entire future. And we don't distinguish between those where a heuristic can be helpful and where a heuristic is harmful. So for example, if you go into the coffee shop, you see a small, medium, and large. Most of us just automatically pick a medium. It's not going to be too small, it's not going to be too large. But at BEworks, we actually did research on investment decision making, and people do the same thing with mutual funds. Right. Now, if you pick the wrong coffee, that's not a big deal. But if you pick the wrong mutual fund, this can affect your financial well-being for the rest of your life. And we do that with those consequential, risky, complex decisions. It's called the Goldilocks effect, right? Not too soft, not too hard, not too warm, not too cold. It should not be done with mutual funds, because that does have an outcome. We spend too little time thinking analytically and carefully on the important decisions.
Right. So when it comes to important decisions like your retirement savings, what you have maybe with your employer, how does that also play out with this whole Goldilocks, thing, or just not paying attention at all?
Yeah, that's where people need to be aware of biases and need to be aware of heuristics and aware of how it affects your decision making. And once you become aware of it, then you can actually say, maybe this is a decision where you should spend a little more time thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. And is that different if you're doing DIY versus being with an advisor?
So that with DIY, you're often not aware of that.
Yeah.
Whereas with an advisor, advisors have expertise and training and years of experience, and they know from both themselves making those decisions. So the advisors themselves have to be aware of these heuristics and biases and actively guard against it. But they can also help their clients by saying, do you realize that you're likely to just pick the middle, even if it's not the best choice? Let's spend a little more time thinking about what a better choice might be.
Right, so you can mitigate against these biases and heuristics. And just before I let you go, I mean, there's some neuroscience as well, is there not, to not being able to connect with our future self, that our brain actually dims down when we think of that person. But I know I've talked to you many times that even just building a relationship to that future self, let's say if you're DIY or with an advisor, that can really help, can it not?
Yeah, so that future self is both temporally and psychologically distant. It's distant in time, and it doesn't really seem like us. If you spend some time actually thinking about who that future person is and how that is you, you're more likely to actually forego current pleasure in favor of future benefits for that person who's you.
Right, and it doesn't need to be a lot of time, right?
No.
Yeah, okay, well this is great insights. Thank you so much, David.
Thanks, Kelley.